Hello YouTubers! Time for another video with the latest findings. This is like a good old tradition by now. And I'm going to show you this pile of records. And now I'm going to show them to you one by one. We're going to start with a forgotten hero. And we're talking about Phil Cordell, or Springwater, as he called himself while doing this album on Polydor in 1971, I think, and he had quite a good hit with I Will Return. And this is a very nice album. I've been looking for this for many years, but why on earth is he so forgotten today, Phil Cordell? When I tried to find some more information about him on the internet, I had big problems finding anything useful, and there's not even an English Wikipedia page on him. There's a Dutch and a German one, but no English one, and that's really bad. Right, over to some people who were a bit more famous than Phil Cordell, and this is, well, quite a famous bootleg. The Beatles, Get Back, with Don't Let Me Down and 9 other songs. And this is, yeah, I don't have to present this much. It's a version of the so-called Get Back album that was supposed to come out after the White Album in 1969, the Get Back sessions, using this photo that would later be used on the Blue compilation disc from 1973. This was issued probably in the 1980s sometime, and it was issued on the label Trademark of Quality. It says just, well, it's like a pig, and it's red vinyl. Being a bootleg, it sounds quite alright. Sorry. The allergy season has started, so I'm a bit affected by that. Another camel that I haven't had before. I can see your house from here on Decca from 1979. Got quite a lot of camels by now. Huh? Now over to an album that I've been looking for many ages, many years, well, ages. It's Neil Innes, How Sweet to Be an Idiot, a United Artists from 1973. Been looking for this for a long time. Here's another album that I've been looking for a long time. I've talked about the Swedish singer and songwriter Mikael Ramel before, and his first 2 albums I've had some problems finding, but now finally I got them, and they are incredibly good. Incredibly good. This is the first one, Till Day, from 1972, on the Europa Film Studio label Ljudspår. This is the second one, Extravaganza, from 1974. This is a reissue from probably the late 70s, early 80s on Sonnet. The original issue was on Ljudspår as well. Then we have a nice album. Yeah, a nice album with the nice Elegy, which is, well, after Keith Emerson left them, I think, but still it's a very nice issue on Charisma. And this is on the Charisma Classics series, so it is a reissue from the 80s, and it has this, I don't know if you're familiar with this, blue Charisma label, which was the first one that I saw, because my first Charisma albums that I bought in the 80s were Monty Python albums. That's when I first heard of Charisma. Right. Then we have a nice soul album. I've been looking for this for many years too. Sorry. Clarence Carter, Patches, from 1970 on Atlantic. Very soulful album, and a bit of a forgotten singer today, I think. Yeah, then I found this. Well, I was very surprised when I found it, and I was even more surprised when I saw the low price of it. It's Johnny and the Hurricanes featuring Red River Rock. Originally issued on Warwick, but this is the British pressing on London. But it's a mono LP, and the sleeves in fine condition, but the record is in very great, very well, excellent condition, and it's a really nice instrumental rock and roll album with Johnny Paris and his music friends. Then we have a Van der Graaf generator, or just Van der Graaf as it says here. And the album is called The Quiet One, The Pleasure Dome. And this is also a Charisma issue on, it's a West German Charisma issue from 1977. Then we have Forms and Feelings by Love Sculpture. This is a reissue, probably from the 1980s on EMI. It says here that the original issue was in February 1970 on Odeon, and they even state the original number here. Well, that's a bit unusual, but this is a reissue. Oh, it says here reissue from 1980. Love Sculpture, Forms and Feelings. Good blues there. And then 3 10-inches finally. First we have this old jazz from the 1920s, Benny Moten, with very simple sleeve. We have 8 recordings, that's like 478 RPMs on this, and it has a label called Only for Collectors. So that's how it is. So I guess this was printed in quite a small number back in the 1950s sometime. Lucky I'm a collector, so I could have it. Right, over to another British issue of American music. It's Blind Blake on the Collector Records. This, well, I should think that this was the first time the Blind Blake recordings were issued in England, and probably in Europe. This must be from the, well, mid-50s, most likely. It doesn't say on the sleeve, but I'm quite sure that's the case. It's on the Jazz Collector label. Quite crude transfers from these old 78 RPMs, and many of them taken from 78 RPM records that are in incredibly bad condition and very noisy and sounding bad. And I mean, there was no such thing as trying to edit out crackles and pops in the old recordings back in the 1950s. Not as far as I know. So it's not the best Blind Blake compilation I have. I've got a couple of better ones from later years. But I am quite sure it must have been one of the first Blind Blake compilations to be issued in England and probably in Europe. Yeah, and then we have this one. No, it's not a 10-inch version of the White Album by the Beatles. It is very simply a white sleeve here. So, it doesn't say anything, so let's have a look at the records. Alright. Okay. Well, very informative. A totally blank label, white label, but when you play this, and I knew what kind of recording it was when I bought it. It's some sort of privately recorded comedy and music show that some amateurs put together late 50s, early 60s while doing their military service. Because back in those days, well, up until some years ago, you had to do some sort of military service if you're a man. And this is not a acetate. You might think that it's an acetate, like a one-off acetate. This is very professionally recorded in a record studio with piano accompaniment and a couple of guys that sing different songs with their own lyrics. Many of um, the compositions are taken from the Swedish entertainment legend Povel Ramel, who I collect. So, being a Ramel collector, this is a very interesting recording, and I'm quite sure that I will sooner or later um, make this recording available on YouTube. I know that I have some Ramel friends all over Sweden who might find this very interesting. It's a very odd record, and I guess the guys who made this can't have been very poor, because it must have cost quite a lot of money to record this and press it up, even if it just have white blank labels and this simple white sleeve. But as I said, it's not a acetate. It's a real vinyl record. So also, I don't know that much about the people on this record, and many of the jokes on this record are more or less in jokes between. And probably the record was only pressed in a small, tiny number of copies, probably just for the people who were the friends of the the guys who made this recording. So it's very interesting. And of course, when I make it available on YouTube, it's to be able to know some more about this, because it's definitely worth listening to. It's very good for being amateurs. Very clever lyrics in many cases. Okay, well, that's all for now. Have a nice Saturday and good night.